Would you like to convert copper into gold? Would you like to use inexpensive copper rounds, individually numbered with numismatic potential? Would you like to earn money doing so? Well, you may be able to hit all three birds with one stone. Visit yougetgold.com with the letter U.
So in my effort to try to come back to sanity with spending, because I think deficits are so dangerous to us, that the best place to start cutting spending, should be the least controversial place to start cutting spending, is the overseas spending. That is the reason that immediately I would start bringing the troops home from around the world and bring them back to the United States. I think the important reason that we should consider about our overseas spending is we should be able to agree to stop spending this money. My proposal, of course, is to cut $1 trillion even in the first year. And I do that with priorities. I say overseas spending should be the most vulnerable and the easiest place to cut. And the place where we should do our best to protect. So what I want to do is protect those individuals who are most dependent. The child health care, the Social Security, and the elderly health care. And say, at least take care of them until we get ourselves worked out of this. But unfortunately, Social Security has no money in the bank. The money's all been spent. It's been spent through the general revenue. It's been spent on wars. So something has to be done. But we have to get people back to work again. And if we keep propping up mistakes, that is too much debt, taking bad debt and putting it on a taxpayer, and not changing the conditions that encourage people to invest and create jobs and have businesses, this thing will get much worse because we're chasing our businesses away, our production goes down, and what do we have? We have debt. Now, we were able to borrow for a long time, and people would loan us money, and we could inflate the currency, and there wasn't so much inflation, but that's all coming to an end. So it's really up to us. It's up to another generation to come along and say, you know, it was a great start, but we lost it along the way. We've been drifting for 100 years. We drifted away from the true intent. We've lost our confidence that freedom works, and now we're at a point where we have to make a decision. Which way do we go? Are we going to continue the status quo, continue spending, continue the debt? Believe me, you're going to get a mess, and that will not solve the problem. Then the other option is doing something along what I'm saying is cut spending, quit the wars, take care of the people who need the help, change the conditions to encourage people to go back and get the jobs again. And if we continue to do it, we cannot maintain it like this, what will happen is this financial crisis will get much, much worse. We who believe in liberty, conservatives and libertarians and others believe in individual liberties, we haven't really won the argument because there will always be a humanitarian argument come by. Oh, if government doesn't do it, people are going to suffer. If they won't have any health care, they won't have any education, they won't have any of this, there won't be any jobs, and they keep arguing with it. But the truth is, if you look at throughout history, if you want to look for prosperous economies and prosperous society, a large middle class, the freer the people are, the more wealth there is, and the larger the middle class. Right now, all you have to do is look around. The middle class is under a threat. The middle class gets wiped out when you destroy a currency. We've undermined our currency. We haven't destroyed it. But if we continue to do this, the middle class is going to be in much worse shape. So it's very easy for me to make the case and say that the founders were on the right track. They were far from perfect, but we have drifted a long way from what they intended. If you legalize freedom across the board, economically and personal liberty and overseas, yes, some people are going to make mistakes. But people are frightened by that. And they'll say, oh, I don't want to endorse this because somebody might smoke marijuana. Wouldn't that be horrible? But legalizing freedom does not mean that you endorse what people do. You don't endorse it because you believe in freedom of religion. It doesn't mean you endorse their religion. Matter of fact, as far as the drugs are concerned, I think drugs are terribly dangerous. I think that people shouldn't use them. I preach that to my kids and to my grandchildren. I think the drug war has been much more damaging to our society than the use of drugs. And also, Listen, we should be allowed to make our own choices. I think it's rather a sad shame that the federal government's involved in whether or not you're allowed to drink raw milk and a few things like that. I think we should be allowed to make our decisions, and we should be allowed to make our mistakes at times, because believe me, when the bureaucrats and the federal government makes mistakes, it affects all of us. If you have your freedoms back and you make your own mistakes, you affect yourself, and it's not nearly as dangerous. But I am convinced that if you have a humanitarian instinct and you care about a free and a peaceful and a prosperous society, that you would offer a system that recognizes that individual liberty is the key. That's what made this country great. That's what the Declaration of Independence was all about. That's what the Constitution tried to preserve, and that is what is under threat today. Think about the protection of individual liberty, and I am quite sure that if we can restore that concept, we will once again have peace and prosperity as maximum amount as we could afford. And I believe we can do that, and this is where I'm encouraged. With the younger generation, they're listening and paying attention. They know this system is messed up, and they're ready to accept this responsibility. So I once again want to thank you all for coming. Appreciate being here, and please join me in the cause of liberty. Thank you very much.
YouGetGold.com with the letter U.